The story begins with a man named Hiroto introducing himself to a girl named Toko as her new father. He knows the news must feel strange, having a stranger suddenly appear as your new parent, so he reassures her that he will do his best to be a good father figure. Surprisingly, Toko accepts him and hopes they can get along. Later inside the apartment, Hiroto joins his new wife, Miyako, to prepare dinner. They have been married for a month, and life has been peaceful so far. After finishing her homework, Toko comes out of her room hungry and asks if they are having curry for dinner. We learn that the reason Hiroto became the new father is because Toko's real father passed away when she was in her second year of high school. Toko squeezes between her parents while they cook and comments on how Hiroto is holding the knife in a strange way. She takes it from him and demonstrates the right technique, which makes Hiroto smile. Even though he's slightly nervous around girls her age, he realizes he might be overthinking. Before marrying Miyako, he used to work a stressful 9-to-5 job that drained him completely. By his 30s, the pressure from his boss was so heavy that it started affecting his health and mind. He lived alone and miserable in a small apartment. One day his mother called him, checking on his well-being. She mentioned that one of his classmates, Kobayashi, had recently gotten married, and she asked when Hiroto planned to settle down too. At that time, Hiroto wasn't sure what to think about his future. Back in the present, Miyako notices Hiroto spacing out while cooking and jokingly accuses him of thinking about another woman. He brushes it off, grateful that he can finally feel peace thanks to his new wife and daughter. Suddenly, Miyako realizes they've run out of curry ingredients. Hiroto offers to go buy some, but Miyako insists she'll go since the store is close. As she leaves, Hiroto feels a strange sense of anxiety he can't explain. Toko then calls for him and invites him to play games while they wait. She grabs his arm and pulls him toward the couch. But as they sit together, Hiroto senses something unusual. As they play, Toko rests against him, and he realizes she must be trying very hard to spend time with him, probably because Miyako, who often sleeps a lot, isn't always able to give her attention. Hiroto becomes uncomfortable and pulls away, telling himself he's just overreacting. Toko goes quiet for a moment before challenging him to a one-on-one match. Hiroto accepts, and after easily beating him, Toko happily hugs his arm while teasing him for losing. The hug feels a bit too close for him, so he quickly pulls away. He reminds her that she's already in high school and shouldn't cling to him like that. Toko gets down on all fours, asking what he means, and continues invading his space, making him lean back in discomfort. Before anything escalates, Miyako returns home with the curry ingredients, and Toko excitedly runs to greet her. Hiroto stays on the couch, catching his breath. Later, as Hiroto finishes preparing dinner, Miyako and Toko spend time together. Knowing Toko lost her real father, it's easy to understand why she feels lonely. Hiroto wonders if maybe he's just reading too much into things. During dinner, Miyako and Hiroto ask Toko about her school life and whether she still plays soft tennis. She says she does and that she still has friends from her old tennis club. She invites them to watch her play sometime. Miyako encourages Hiroto to go, if it won't interfere with work, though she herself is unsure if she can attend because of her health. Their quiet dinner is interrupted when Miyako's phone rings. While she steps aside to answer it, Toko tells Hiroto secretly that she wants him to come watch her match instead, saying most girls call their boyfriends to watch them. Hiroto gets nervous but agrees. Miyako returns and wonders what they were talking about, but Toko keeps it to herself. As she sits beside Hiroto again, she crosses her legs close to him and says they're getting along well. Hiroto, however, feels nothing but discomfort. Later that night, Hiroto and Miyako lie in bed. He wants to bring up what's been bothering him, but Miyako interrupts, saying she knows being a sudden father must be difficult. Hiroto immediately corrects her and says that's not the issue at all. He tells her he is truly happy to have married her and cares deeply for both her and her daughter. Miyako is moved by his words, and they hold each other closely. But as they rest together, Toko is shown listening just outside their room. The next day, Hiroto is bored at work when suddenly his coworker Sasaki bursts into the room and startles him. Sasaki checks in on him and reminds him that it's already lunch break. He invites Hiroto to eat together, and the two head to their usual spot. At the table, Hiroto takes out the lunch Toko prepared for him. He explains that his daughter made it herself. Sasaki complains that even his own wife refuses to make him lunch, and he's jealous that Hiroto has such a caring family. He then casually comments that both Hiroto's wife and daughter are beautiful and jokes about happy accidents happening in a house like his. Hiroto immediately slams his cup on the table, fed up. He tells Sasaki firmly that he would never think of anything indecent about his daughter. She's a high schooler with a future ahead of her, and it's his responsibility to protect her. Feeling awkward, Sasaki backs off and insists he was only joking. Later on the train home, Hiroto thinks about what he said. He remembers how close Toko got to him recently and how it made his heart race. He realizes he needs to act more like a proper parent and control his reactions better. When Hiroto arrives home, the living room is empty. He sits on the couch, but suddenly Toko jumps out and covers his eyes, startling him again. He turns around, sweating a little from the surprise. He asks where Miyako is, and Toko explains that she's still at the clinic and won't be home for a while. Realizing they're alone, Toko climbs onto Hiroto's lap and begins to undress him slowly. Hiroto freezes in shock. She pauses for a moment, leans in, and takes in his scent. That wakes him up, and he firmly pulls her off, trying to understand why she's acting so strangely. Catching his breath, Hiroto asks what's wrong with her. Toko calmly asks if it's bad for a father and daughter to be close. Hiroto tells her there's nothing wrong with being close as family. But then she mentions last night, clearly referring to hearing Hiroto and Miyako being intimate. A heavy tension fills the room as Hiroto realizes she heard them, even though they tried to be quiet. Feeling guilty, he apologizes for making her uncomfortable. He explains gently that they are a family, and there are boundaries that must never be crossed. But it doesn't mean they can't care about each other. Before he can continue, Toko suddenly breaks down crying. She tells Hiroto she did everything because she wanted his affection and has been lonely ever since her real father passed away. Through tears, she begs Hiroto not to leave her or her mother. Seeing her cry, Hiroto feels terrible. He realizes she isn't acting out of malice. She's simply hurting. He apologizes for misunderstanding her and promises he won't leave. He wants to spend more time with both her and Miyako so he can become a proper father and husband. Toko holds his hands and asks him for a hug. Hiroto hesitates, still uneasy, but agrees. She wraps her arms tightly around him, and he hugs her back carefully. As he holds her, he realizes he still has a long way to go to truly become the father she needs, but he is determined to try his best. While Hiroto feels relieved by the moment, Toko leans in and whispers that she'll be a very good girl just for him, wearing a quiet, unsettling smile, one that hints she may not be as innocent as she wants him to believe. Inside the classroom, a student named Kato sat quietly in his seat while staring at Toko, who was smiling as she talked with her friend in the front row. Before he could snap out of it, the girl behind him, Honda, called him out, asking why he was staring at Toko so openly. Honda told him to give up before he embarrassed himself. Kato tried to deny it, but Honda could read his expression easily. She explained that she had known Toko since high school and that many boys had confessed to her before, all of whom were rejected. She left him with one final warning, but Kato had no intention of backing down. Later, Honda walked up to Toko and invited her to the tennis club. Toko apologized and said she needed to turn in some paperwork first. In the changing room, as they prepared for club activities, Honda suddenly asked Toko if she liked anyone. Toko hesitated, then quietly said she didn't have anyone in mind. Honda nudged her playfully and asked what kind of guy she preferred. Toko didn't have a specific answer, but said that if she had to choose, it would be her dad. Honda froze in confusion, unsure if she heard correctly. Before she could ask more, the other club members suddenly appeared and started bombarding Toko with their own questions. Annoyed, Honda shooed them away. Meanwhile, Kato was walking down the hallway when he noticed dark clouds gathering outside. He wondered if the tennis club would still be practicing. He entered the teacher's office to deliver printed handouts. His teacher accepted them and asked if he was heading to tennis club afterward. When Kato said yes, the teacher scratched his head, saying he planned to tell the clubs to go home early because of the weather, but forgot. He asked Kato to run errands instead and inform everyone about the cancellation. Kato hesitated since the girls had just arrived for practice, but he eventually agreed. At the tennis court, the club members realized they were missing a score sheet. Toko volunteered to retrieve it. Meanwhile, Kato rushed across campus, trying to warn everyone before the rain started. As Toko headed toward the club room, she crossed paths with Kato. Thunder rumbled overhead. Kato quickly told her that all club activities were cancelled because of the incoming storm. Toko reached out her hand to check for raindrops, then the sky opened up, pouring rain on both of them instantly. They both ran for shelter and stood together under a covered path, waiting for the rain to stop. As the silence stretched on, Kato accidentally caught a glimpse of Toko's silhouette through her soaked clothing. Trying to distract himself, he started a conversation about the club cancellation, explaining that the teacher asked him to notify everyone. Toko smiled and complimented him for being hardworking and helpful. His face turned red, and in his flustered state, he ended up praising all of Toko's good qualities as well. Realizing what he just said, he immediately panicked, but Toko had already noticed. She calmly asked him if he liked her. Kato tried to dodge the question, but his hesitation made Toko lose interest. Realizing he was about to blow his chance, he gathered his courage and confessed properly. He told her that he liked her as a classmate and a clubmate and that he would always be willing to support her. Toko thanked him softly, but her straightforward response made his heart sink. Still, he tried to keep the conversation going and eventually worked up the nerve to ask the real question. Was there someone she liked? Toko smiled, blushed slightly and said yes. She already had someone she loved, and she didn't need anyone else as long as that person was in her life. Kato instantly understood what that meant. His chances were gone. Honda appeared shortly after and quietly pulled Kato aside, telling him to keep their conversation a secret. Kato watched Toko walk away and felt completely crushed. Back inside the classroom, he sat at his desk, wondering who Toko could be in love with. She seemed deeply attached to that person, and the thought bothered him more than he expected. He sighed, decided to head home, and tried to prepare himself for how awkward things might be next week.
1 week later.
At the school lockers, he saw Toko walking by. Without thinking, he called her name. She turned toward him, so he quickly asked if she forgot her umbrella since he had a spare she could use. Toko said she didn't need one. She was waiting for someone to pick her up. And then, the entrance door opened. Hiroto appeared with an umbrella in hand, heading straight toward Toko. Her face lit up instantly. She ran to him and slipped under the umbrella, cheerful as ever, telling him they could share one together. As they walked away, Kato stood frozen. He noted that her father looked surprisingly young. Then he remembered Toko's words from before, about the person she liked. He tried to tell himself it couldn't be true, but watching her bright smile as she walked beside Hiroto, he understood. She wasn't joking, and Kato could only stare, realizing the truth he never wanted to accept. After they returned home, Hiroto and Toko were all drenched from the rain. Suddenly, Miyako removed her wet clothes, and in that moment, Hiroto saw a large, gaping hole on her torso. Shocked, he realized she looked hollow inside and immediately woke up from the nightmare. As he opened his eyes, Toko was sitting beside him, quietly watching him sleep. She asked what kind of dream he had that made him react like that. Hiroto flinched, surprised that she was so close. Toko explained that she came to wake him because he appeared to be having a nightmare. Trying to brush off his embarrassment, Hiroto changed the subject and told her that she shouldn't be going to bed half-dressed. Toko didn't understand what he meant and lifted her shirt slightly, only to show that she was wearing shorts. Caught off guard, Hiroto stepped back and accidentally stubbed his pinky toe. Toko immediately got worried and placed a bandage on his injured toe. Hiroto then asked where Miyako was. Toko explained that she was working a part-time shift, filling in for someone. Trying to avoid further awkwardness, Hiroto excused himself from the room, but Toko stopped him by gently pulling on his clothes. She requested that he put a bandage on her pinky finger as well. Hiroto explained that she wasn't injured, so there was no need. Without hesitation, Toko bit her own finger, surprising him and making him worry. She held out her now injured pinky and earnestly asked him to bandage it. Hiroto couldn't understand her behavior. Her view of affection felt unusually distorted. He told her not to do something like that again and reassured her that he would put a bandage on her anytime she needed. Toko simply laughed and said that family should share both pain and comfort, something she said her late father taught her. After their exchange, they headed to the living room to prepare breakfast. Miyako sent a message to Hiroto, telling him she couldn't make it for breakfast because she had to work that morning. As Hiroto and Toko talked, he asked if she had anything planned for the day. Toko said she was free until tomorrow. She then turned the question around and asked if Hiroto had plans. When he said he didn't, Toko immediately asked him to go out with her. Hiroto hesitated and said that taking an older man like him on a date wouldn't be fun. Toko clarified that she just needed someone to accompany her to buy something. Realizing he misunderstood, Hiroto felt relieved. Excited, Toko went to change clothes. A short while later, she called for him and showed off her outfit. Hiroto was taken aback by how good she looked and almost misspoke before managing to compliment her properly. They headed outside and as expected, people glanced in their direction because of their age difference. Hiroto ignored the attention. To him, Toko's happiness was what mattered most. As they walked together, Hiroto wondered what she wanted to buy. The moment Toko stepped into a lingerie store, he froze, realizing he needed to step aside. Toko immediately noticed his discomfort and teased him lightly by showing him what the lingerie might look like, laughing at his reaction. She then explained that the lingerie wasn't what she came to buy. They continued on and went into an antique store. Toko looked around carefully, searching for something specific. Eventually, she found what she wanted, a wooden music box. She planned to place a family photo inside it and give it to her mother for her birthday. Hiroto was touched and proud of her thoughtfulness. They bought the music box and continued walking around together. Hiroto then asked Toko to help him find a birthday present for Miyako as well. They enjoyed their time together, talking and looking through different stores. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to a group of stylish girls waiting to try a new drink. One of them, a black-haired girl, offered the drink to her friend Yurika. Yurika refused, saying it had too many calories. The others quietly exchanged looks, sensing her irritation. Yurika's mood had been off because her mother kept texting her to return home at specific times. As she glanced around, Yurika noticed Toko walking with her father, linked arm in arm. The sight made Yurika smirk to herself. She sensed an opportunity for drama and she wasn't about to let it pass. Yurika scrolled through her Instagram feed, completely absorbed in the constant stream of likes and follows. She lived for the notifications. Her friends stood nearby, clearly jealous of the attention she was getting, which made Yurika brag even more. Their conversation was suddenly interrupted by another classmate asking Toko for permission to post a video with her. It was a short dance clip they had filmed earlier, but Toko had accidentally walked into the frame, and the video went viral because viewers were captivated by her beauty. The classmate asked if Toko had any social media accounts, saying she'd become famous instantly. Toko replied that she had none and didn't really understand how social media worked. Hearing this, Yurika's frustration grew. She didn't like the way Toko acted, always polite, soft-spoken, and effortlessly perfect in front of everyone. Yurika couldn't stand the sight of her, so she excused herself and walked out of the room. Yurika hated Toko deeply. It reminded her of everything she had struggled with. 3 years ago, Yurika had returned home only to be slapped by her mother for not ranking first in the school exams. Yurika argued back, saying her score and rank were actually higher than before, but her mother exploded in anger. Startled, Yurika fell silent. Then, as if switching masks, her mother calmly apologized and said everything she was doing was for Yurika's sake. She insisted that Yurika had to keep working harder because she was the only tool her mother had. Later, during the parent-teacher conference, Yurika's mother asked who ranked first. Yurika, feeling defeated, pointed to Toko. Her mother immediately said the cruelest words a parent could say. She wished Toko had been her daughter instead. Yurika froze. Those words stayed with her and burned into her memory. From that day on, she began to resent Toko with every part of her being. If Toko didn't exist, Yurika believed that she would have been the top student, and her mother would finally acknowledge her efforts. Back in the present, Yurika's thoughts were interrupted when Toko approached her, asking if she was okay. As Yurika returned to reality, her resentment sharpened. She had decided that she would take everything Toko had stolen from her. She had been observing Toko, trying to find any weaknesses, but nothing ever surfaced. That was until today. Yurika finally had something. A photo of Toko walking outside while linking arms with her father. Her classmates didn't know he was Toko's father, so rumors quickly began circulating that the man was her sponsor or sugar daddy. Yurika anonymously sent the photo to several students, letting it spread through the school like wildfire. Satisfied, she headed to the rooftop alone. She imagined the chaos that would unfold once the rumor reached everyone. In her mind, Toko's downfall was finally beginning and she would reclaim the position she believed she deserved as the #1 girl in the school. On a bright morning, Yurika sat at her desk, waiting to see if Toko would show up. She was eager for the events she expected to unfold. Meanwhile, in the school hallway, a commotion was building. Students were whispering and gathering around something that had clearly spread fast. Kato walked by, confused, until Honda approached him and held out her phone. She showed him the photo that had circulated. Toko walking arm in arm with the man people were calling her sugar daddy. Kato immediately recognized it. It was the same scene he'd witnessed the other day in the rain. Shocked, he tried to process it, while Honda wondered who would spread something so malicious. Before either of them could say more, Toko arrived and greeted them as usual. Across the room, Yurika covered her mouth, trying to hide her excitement as she watched everything unfold. Toko paused, confused, as the entire class stared at her. Moments later, several worried girls rushed over and surrounded her. They asked if she was okay and what was going on. Toko didn't understand why everyone was acting this way. Then one girl stepped forward with her phone, showing the rumored photo and asking if it was some kind of prank. As Toko looked at the photo, Yurika waited for her reaction. She expected Toko to break down and run out of the room. But nothing about Toko changed. Instead, she responded calmly and clearly. Without hesitation, Toko told everyone that the man in the photo was her father. She clarified that her current dad wasn't her biological father, since her real father had passed away when she was younger, and that the situation was complicated. She spoke gently and without confusion, shutting down the rumor immediately. And just like that, the reaction Yurika had been hoping for never came. Toko stayed composed, and the class listened closely, leaving Yurika silent behind her hidden smile. Despite everything that happened between Yurika and Toko the previous day, school life returned to normal. But for Yoshida, the atmosphere felt different. She could sense the invisible lines that separated students into groups, the beautiful girls and athletes at the top, the normies in the middle, the quiet introverts next, and then herself. Yoshida placed herself at the very bottom, not because anyone bullied her, but because she rarely spoke unless someone directly asked her something. Most people barely noticed she was there. Her parents had named her Yoshida after a character from their favorite anime, hoping she would grow up to be someone special, but Yoshida felt nothing like that. Meanwhile, Toko was treated like an exception, an angelic figure everyone admired and wanted to protect, even if her personality was strange beneath the surface. In class, Yoshida viewed herself as background scenery, but at least her routine was stable. Later, as she prepared to eat lunch alone in the art room, she suddenly felt a strong presence. Toko entered and asked if she could come in. Shocked, Yoshida stood up immediately. Toko walked over with her lunch and invited herself to sit beside her. Yoshida grew tense, stuttering as she tried to ask what brought Toko here. She suspected it had something to do with the photo from yesterday, but Toko cut her off and said she simply didn't feel like sitting in class anymore and ran away to the art room. Then she asked Yoshida for a favor. She wanted Yoshida to switch with her for today's cleaning duty. Yoshida misunderstood at first, thinking she meant switching long-term, but Toko clarified it was only for today. Yoshida agreed without much thought. Toko lit up with joy and grabbed Yoshida's hand in gratitude. Yoshida froze, overwhelmed by the gentle touch, as if someone divine were standing before her. It was also the first time anyone had addressed her by her first name. Toko even offered her an apple as thanks, but Yoshida politely refused. Later, Yoshida ran to a corner of the school hallway, out of breath. She had spotted Yurika walking ahead and tried to eavesdrop on whatever conversation she was having. She leaned over the edge but couldn't hear anything. Instead, she saw Toko and Yurika standing together, seemingly getting along. Yoshida became confused. Weren't they supposed to be enemies? Suddenly, a loud slam echoed in the hallway. Yoshida panicked and tried to slip away, but Yurika appeared, walking toward her with an irritated expression. Yoshida apologized immediately, but Yurika stared down at her with disgust and insulted her appearance. Then she walked away, leaving Yoshida stunned and wondering why Yurika was angry when she had just seen her smiling with Toko. Back in the classroom, Yurika gathered her belongings and said goodbye to her friends. Before heading home, she went to the restroom to change her clothes. Somewhere across town, Hiroto hurried down the street, trying to catch his train home. Just then, Yurika crossed his path. She tripped over her own feet and fell into his chest. Hiroto quickly asked if she was okay. Yurika looked up at him with shaky, innocent eyes and explained that she was anemic, then asked if he could take her somewhere to rest. Hiroto agreed without hesitation, and she quietly thanked him for his kindness, though something about the situation felt off. Later, at a quiet park, Hiroto and Yurika sat beneath a large tree. Hiroto asked if she was feeling better, and she replied softly that she was fine now. Yurika apologized for troubling him and asked whether he had been in a hurry before she stopped him. Hiroto scratched his head, saying he wasn't in a rush, even though he had already missed his train. He stood up to leave now that she seemed okay, but Yurika suddenly grabbed his arm and told him to wait. Confused, Hiroto paused. Her eyes drifted to his hand, noticing the engagement ring he wore. Hiroto nervously explained that he got engaged this year and asked if something about it bothered her. In a calm, gentle voice, Yurika said she knew he must have a wonderful family waiting for him at home. But then she added that she was always alone at her own house. Slowly, she lifted his hand and placed it against her cheek, letting him feel her warmth. She then tried to guide his hand to her chest, asking him to stay with her a little longer, clearly attempting to draw him in. But just before the situation could escalate, Hiroto snapped back to his senses. He pulled his arm away and apologized, firmly rejecting her request. Without giving her another chance, he stepped back, bowed slightly, and rushed away from the park. His hands were shaking, and sweat ran down his face as he walked. In his mind, he wondered whether the entire situation was some kind of setup or trap, and he promised himself he wouldn't fall into anything like that again. Yurika stood up after he left, grabbed her bag, and quietly switched off her phone. She had been recording everything. Later, while on her way home, she checked her phone and saw that Hiroto had escaped her plan. She clicked her tongue in annoyance, irritated that her trap hadn't worked. Then her phone suddenly rang. She hesitated, then answered. Her mother sounded cheerful and asked where she had been. Before Yurika could respond, her mother told her to hurry home because a friend was waiting for her. Confused, Yurika tried to think of which friend would visit her house, especially since her mother didn't like any of them. But then her mother revealed who it was, the top student they had talked about yesterday. The mention of that name made Yurika's heart drop. She felt a cold chill run down her spine. Why was Toko in her house? Panicked, she started running as fast as she could toward home. When she finally reached the door, she burst inside, breathless and shaking. Her mother jumped in surprise, telling her not to enter like that. Then she turned back toward their guest and apologized for her daughter's behavior. Toko smiled politely and said it was completely fine. She greeted Yurika warmly, acting as if everything were normal, and apologized for visiting without warning. After the unexpected turn of events, Yurika, clearly intimidated and unsettled, walked toward Toko and asked why she had come to their house. Her tone was sharp, and her mother immediately scolded her for speaking so rudely in front of a guest. Yurika's mother then looked at her clothes and questioned why she was wearing casual clothing on a school day. Avoiding eye contact, Yurika lied and said she had gone shopping with her friends. Her mother sighed and turned back to Toko, apologizing for the scene. After a moment, Toko and Yurika's mother began talking cheerfully, their conversation flowing easily. As they talked, Yurika's mother started comparing Yurika to Toko, praising how polite and composed Toko was. Yurika clenched her teeth, trying to endure her frustration. Wanting to break the conversation, Yurika told her mother that she shouldn't trouble Toko any longer, but Toko responded gently, saying she didn't mind at all. She explained that she didn't get much attention from her own mother due to her condition, so seeing Yurika receive love from hers made her a little jealous. Hearing this, Yurika's mother was touched and softened even more toward Toko. Watching her mother smile at Toko made Yurika's chest tighten painfully. Her mother even patted Toko's head and said she wished Toko had been her daughter instead. Yurika quietly sat down, her voice low as she asked why Toko was in their home. In a serious tone, her mother answered. Yurika had forgotten something, and Toko had come to return it. She then scolded Yurika for acting harshly towards someone as kind and well-mannered as Toko. But Yurika didn't even remember forgetting anything. Toko then revealed the item, Yurika's pencil case. Seeing it, Yurika froze, unsure if it was really hers. Toko explained calmly that she was returning a pen she had borrowed from Yurika. That was a lie, but she said it with a straight face. She opened the pencil case, pretending to search for the pen, and tapped it lightly so it tipped over. A pile of condoms spilled across the table. The timing was perfect, silent, deliberate, and impossible to misinterpret. Both Yurika and her mother stared at the items in shock. Toko immediately put a hand over her mouth, acting as if she was just as surprised as they were. Yurika's mother trembled as she asked her daughter what she had been doing with them. Yurika had no idea how they got there, but there was no way to explain it. Toko then calmly added to the scene. She suggested that Yurika might have been trying to sell herself and gently told her to stop, saying everyone was worried about her. In that moment, Yurika understood exactly why Toko had come to her house, and that she was now facing the consequences of trying to ruin Toko's life. Her mother's expression hardened. Without even looking at her daughter, she muttered that she had been too soft on her. Then she demanded that Yurika hand over her wallet and smartphone immediately. Yurika had walked directly into a trap she couldn't escape. Even if she tried to deny Toko's story, the video on her phone, recorded earlier when she attempted to trap Hiroto, was enough to destroy her credibility completely. As the weight of her situation suffocated her, Yurika realized there truly was no way out. Meanwhile, Toko simply watched her in silence, showing no hesitation and no remorse. From the moment Toko entered the house and won her mother's favor, everything had already been decided. When Hiroto returned home, his wife Miyako greeted him and mentioned she was surprised he arrived late today. Hiroto explained that he had missed his usual train. He then asked where Toko was, but Miyako told him she hadn't come home yet. Hiroto checked the time on his phone, feeling uneasy, but Miyako remained calm and reassured him that their daughter was capable of taking care of herself. Meanwhile, at Yurika's house, her mother looked deeply disturbed as she demanded that Yurika show her everything she had in her possession. With no way to refuse, Yurika slowly took her bag and emptied all the contents onto the table while her mother watched closely. With her belongings laid out, Yurika insisted she had nothing to hide. As her mother looked through her papers, Yurika pointed at Toko and desperately claimed that she had done nothing wrong and that Toko had fabricated everything. But her mother ignored her pleas and reached out her hand, telling her to hand over her phone. Yurika quietly refused. Her mother was shocked that her daughter dared to deny her request. Holding the phone tightly against her chest, Yurika tried to explain herself and asked why her mother believed Toko over her. Without warning, her mother stood up and slapped her across the face, causing Yurika to drop her phone. Yurika trembled in disbelief as Toko watched the phone hit the ground. Angry and impatient, her mother warned her to watch her tone and remember her place. She grabbed Yurika by the hair and unleashed all her frustrations, saying she had sacrificed so much for her daughter, yet Yurika never understood how much she had given up for her. While they argued, Toko quietly picked up Yurika's fallen phone. She unlocked it, opened the gallery, and deleted the video involving Hiroto. She then picked up her bag and prepared to leave. But before walking out, she opened Instagram on Yurika's phone and started a live stream, recording the violent argument happening inside the house. Within seconds, the viewer count shot up, and people began watching Yurika being beaten by her mother in real time. Toko's expression shifted into a faint grin before she set the phone down on a nearby flower pot, leaving it recording as she stepped out of the house. Inside, Yurika's mother continued lashing out until she finally broke down into tears, blaming her daughter for being such a burden. Yurika, crying as well, could only wonder how things had fallen apart this badly. All she had ever wanted was a happy family. At the train station, Toko received a call from her own mother. She calmly told her that she had been held up but was just about to board the train. After the call, she looked at her screen again, gazing at the deleted video Yurika once recorded of Hiroto. Under her breath, she whispered softly, assuring her father that everything would be fine now.